What strange sound is that? The villagers anxiously asked. Everyone left all they were doing and looked up to the sky where the sound had come from. They all screamed when the loud bang came with lightning. They were in total confusion. Just then, an old man in the market shouted, "No, this is sound of the spirit. That is the sound of the spirit. Ewo, we are finished. We are doomed. The gods are about to descend their anger upon our land." It was when the old man mentioned the sound of the spirit that it flashed in the minds of the villagers, because they could not remember the last time they witnessed the sound of the spirit. Only those in their 70s witnessed the last time the angry gods paid their land a visit. Others learned about it from the stories of the elders. The people were confused. The sound was so loud that it was deafening. The old man shouted again, "Run! Run for your lives! Do not look back, else you will be consumed. Run!" He kept shouting. "Run as quick as your legs could carry you. Run! Find a shelter. Run to your houses, and no matter what you hear, do not leave your home." People left their goods in the marketplace. Nobody cared to save anyone. Those that their houses were far ran into people's houses to save their lives. The old man who had asked the people to run could barely walk. He was trying so hard to get into any nearby house. The more he tries, the more his legs failed him. He looked up to the sky and cried, "Is this my end, O gods of our land?" Just then it occurred to him he could seek refuge in one of the open shops in the market. He made his way to an open shop close to him. When he entered into the shop, he shut the wooden door. He was shocked and surprised to see a boy hiding behind the door. The boy screamed in fear when the old man shut the door. The old man told him not to be scared, that he was not the sound of the spirit, that him too had also come to hide. The crying boy hugged him so tight. The old man could feel his trembling body. He wondered what his parents would be going through at the moment, realizing they have left their son behind in the market. The whole village was as quiet as graveyard. People had run into their homes, closing their doors. They made sure to keep their voices low. They were all expecting the worst. They knew someone must have summoned the revenger spirit. But why? Who was that willing to go on such irreversible course, and for what gain? The chief priest of the land had run into his shrine in fear, crying to the gods that he had served them in truth and asking for their mercy upon their land, because he knew he would be visited soon by the revenger spirit dancers. The loud bang continued non-stop. His shrine was blown away by the wind and destroyed. He cried and ran out of his shrine, pleading for the gods' mercy. He was running to the land's sacred tree, the only place he felt he would be safe. When he got to the sacred tree, which was at the heart of their forest, he met a dead body of a woman hung to the tree. In fear, he went closer to the body and cried out, "What have you done, Nnedi?" When he recognized the woman, "Oh, Nnedi, what is this you have done?" He kept crying. Nnedi was a poor widow who had a beautiful daughter, Ugom. Ugom was so beautiful that almost every man in the community has an eye for Ugom. Not just that she was beautiful, she was also well-mannered. The daily compliments she got from the villagers didn't in any way get into her head. She respected every person. Every young man in our community wanted to marry her, but Ugom would always turn them down politely. The prince of their land was not left out. He kept on pestering Ugom, showering her with gifts, but Ugom rejected his gifts, telling him her heart belongs to someone else. People had wondered what Ugom saw in Ike. Ike was a poor young man striving to survive. Him and Ugom were childhood friends, who later fell deep in love with each other as they grew. Ike had feared Ugom would leave him for another wealthy man, but she stood with him. Ever since the prince of their land set his eyes on Ugom, he had not rested. He swore to himself that he must have Ugom. It must be him or no other man. When he tried everything he could to win Ugom over and failed, he started threatening him and her mother. He made life uneasy for the poor widow and her daughter. His father, the king of our community, had asked him to let go and find another maiden to marry, but the prince refused. He said it was a very big slap on his face to be treated and disrespected and rejected by a poor wretched girl he was only trying to alleviate out of poverty. He maintained that Ugom had disrespected him so much because nobody had ever said no to him and he had always gotten whatever he wanted. One rainy evening, when he was returning from a journey, he had met Ugom returning from the village stream with a basket filled with washcloths. He had stopped her, professing his love. Ugom politely asked him to let her go, that she cannot be his bride. In anger, he dragged her inside the bush and raped her. Ugom, in her struggle to break free from him, hit her head on a rock and died. The prince was startled. He left her then and ran to the palace. He got to the palace panting. When his father saw him and learned what he did, he was mad. How could you be this heartless? Why did you bring such shame to this family? He thundered. I raised you to be responsible, but here you are. And I believe you know the consequences of what you have done. In case you have forgotten, he is dead and you must be judged accordingly. His wife, the queen, fell on her knee, pleading with her husband to please cover their son's sin because he was their only son. She started looking for her daughter Ugom. She alerted her neighbors that her daughter was missing. They searched for her all through the night, but they didn't find her. The following day, it spread throughout the village that Ugom was missing. The royal family was also alerted, and the king set his guards to aid in the search. Not long, Ugom's bucket of cloth was found in a lonely pathway. Within a short time, her body was recovered. Her decaying body was took to her mother, Nnedi, who fainted at the sight of her daughter's body. The entire village was wondering what really happened to Ugom. Some were saying it could be wild animals, but if it were wild animals, why was her body not ripped apart? And wild animals couldn't have pulled down her pants. Some insisted it must be a human who tried to have carnal knowledge of her. They were still trying to solve the mystery before the chief priest arrived, and for some reasons, he couldn't tell what really happened to Ugom. After Ugom's mother Nnedi regained consciousness, Ugom was buried. Nnedi couldn't heal. Part of her died with her daughter Ugom. Ugom was all she had. She emaciated so much that the villagers were scared she might go with her daughter. Her friends were always checking up on her, making sure she was fine, but nothing changed. Nnedi believed someone must have done this to her daughter, and she wanted justice, and the only way to get it was to visit the sacred tree at the heart of their forest. She didn't care about the danger involved, because only few persons who visited the sacred tree came back with their lives. Some didn't even make it to the tree before they died. But Nnedi didn't care. She told herself she had nothing to live for anymore and was ready to sacrifice herself to the sacred tree to get justice for her daughter Ugom. She bid her lonely home goodbye and set out on the journey. When she finally got to the sacred tree, it was everything they said it was and much more. She poured out her heart to the god in tears, after which she asked the sacred tree to accept her as a humble sacrifice. The god of vengeance was summoned and would not stop until it finishes his mission. Everything became clear to the chief priest as he stared at Nnedi's lifeless body. But why had the gods hidden this from me, he asked himself. Because if he had seen and heard the truth from the gods, only the perpetrator would have died. But now the god of vengeance had been summoned, and the entire lineage would be wiped. The villagers cried out in fear when the entire village was engulfed in darkness. And the king, for some reasons, was terrified and scared. He felt the whole thing was all about him and was coming to him. He cried out, "What is this I've done? What is this I've brought upon my household and my entire community?" He fell on his knee, pleading for God's mercy, asking the gods to please take only him and leave his lineage. Just as he was still speaking, a great force took over the prince. He ran to the palace door. Before they could stop him, he opened the door wide, pointing at something outside. "Look," he shouted. "Look at these two great beautiful dancers. I'm letting them in." Everyone in the royal home was wiped, including the guards and maids, who saw the two spirits. No living thing was left in the palace. The entire village was punished with famine, which endured for years until the gods were appeased and their land cleansed. I hope you really enjoyed this video. The story is filled with moral lessons, which one of them points at the need to uphold the truth always, no matter who is involved. Please do subscribe for other amazing stories. Do like the video as well, and thank you so much for your support and time. Bye.